Welcome to our next section in our series on minerals, covering sodium, but also potassium, chloride, and magnesium.
We'll start by looking at sodium, potassium, and chloride, three of the main electrolytes in our body. Sodium is the main extracellular cation, which means that it is positively charged and exists outside of the cell. Potassium is the main intracellular cation, again, meaning it's positively charged but located inside the cell. Sodium and chloride always go together. Chloride is negatively charged. It's called an anion and exists mostly outside of the cell, the main extracellular anion. But a positive and a negative charge will attract. And sodium chloride is also known as salt, which we'll discuss later. The main functions of electrolytes are to maintain cell integrity. And what that means is that as long as there's an equal amount of both positively and negatively charged ions on either side, there will be an equal amount of volume. If there's too few or too many, cells will either shrink or expand and not function to their full potential. So electrolytes help to maintain blood volume, blood pressure, help transport nerve impulses, play a role in nutrient transport, and in particular, chloride is part of hydrochloric acid, which is important in keeping the pH low in the stomach. Now going back to sodium, looking at some of the sources of sodium. We think about processed foods. Although a lot of people will add salt to their food with a salt shaker, most people get most of their sodium or most of their excess sodium from processed foods. Fast foods, packaged foods, sauces, soups. Excess sodium is associated with hypertension, which we'll discuss later, but does not cause hypertension. It just increases the risk. And I want to look at just some sources of sodium. Some of these will be surprising, some not. When you think of cereal, you don't normally think about a lot of salt in cereal because it doesn't taste salty, but 220 milligrams in Special K. Now remember, the upper limit is 2,300 milligrams. And remember, 10% or more is considered a good source. But we're looking to limit sodium from processed foods. So this is almost, it's at 9%, almost a good source of sodium. And this is coming from something that doesn't even taste salty. Jell-O. And we talked about dessert food a little bit. This is, it's not considered a good source, but 190 milligrams. And this is where you can really get that sodium to add up because you're getting it from things like dessert food. Adding sodium to dessert food actually increases the sweetness, and that's why you're going to find a lot of sodium throughout a lot of dessert products, even if they don't taste salty. And the only reason I show the Planters peanuts is to show that it actually has less sodium than the last two products. And we think about salted peanuts as something that would be really salty. But one of the tricks here is if you put salt on the outside of the product, as soon as it hits your mouth, it stimulates those taste buds to get that salty taste, and it's overwhelming. But if it's mixed into the food, you don't taste it as much. It actually gets covered by some of the other flavors, so you end up having to add a lot more. And that's something to think about if you are cooking and you're trying to limit the amount of sodium you're adding to foods. You usually want to do it after or right on top because will taste saltier than if it's mixed in with the food. Now this one is a surprising one because this is from a Weight Watchers, and I only picked this because their barbecue chicken was pretty high at 637 milligrams. So you're getting up to over a quarter of your amount of sodium that you need for the day just from this one meal. This is very common with a lot of packaged, processed TV dinners, something that you're going to throw into the microwave. So always be aware of that. And then lastly, this is from Campbell's website, and 1 cup of their, let's see, baked potato with cheddar and bacon bits, 790 milligrams of sodium. So that's a whopping dose for just 1 cup. And so that's something that many people wouldn't expect to get out of just a cup of soup.